actually be going over arm bars. I tricked you guys to come to. Oh. No. But all right. So I've met most of you. If you haven't met me, my name is Trenton Cooke. I'm a black belt under Jacare, Romero Jacare Cavalcanti, not the MMA fighter. And I have a school in New York. Most of you have come to visit my academy. Again, doors are always open, no mat fee, anything like that, regardless of affiliation, don't really care. But let's get started. So, Justin. All right, so let's go over some basic drills into certain positions, and then we'll take it from there, okay? So a very standard position that a lot of people call single leg X, so we'll just stick with that. We won't get too crazy about it. But I like to call it leg lasso because you're lassoing the leg. But we're here, your partner's gonna stand over you to simulate like they have mount. Feet are gonna be on the ground. My elbows are gonna be on the mat and I'm gonna control the calves, just for purposes of the drill, okay? I can relax my head. I'm gonna bring my hips up, one knee, right? It's gonna go in between the legs. My other leg's gonna lasso, like you would with the gi, I'm gonna lasso her leg, right? So my heel goes to her hip, and that's what's gonna help bring my hips up, and my knee's gonna connect to my ankle. Now my other foot does not tuck behind the same leg. I have no control over her hips, right? And look how low my hips are. So when I bring my hips up, my knee connects, my other foot goes behind her opposite leg. Now I have full control of her hip. I'm gonna drop down, rock, hips up. Now don't be lazy and do this, okay? I yell at my guys all the time for being lazy. The purpose of drilling is to get your technique better so you can perform better when you actually train and when you compete. So my hips come up and I clamp. Rock, hips come up and I clamp, right? You see how she's already getting off base, right? When my feet are in the right position. So just side to side. We're not gonna do like an ab workout. We'll just do a few just so you get used to getting this position and your feet are in the right position. Make sense? I'm a clapper, so I will count. 1, 2. So just real quick. I also ref for IBJJF, so the stuff I'm going to be showing, I'll tell you whether it's legal or not if you decide to compete in that type of tournament. If not, then, you know, everything goes. Okay? So when I'm in my leg lasso position, right, my toes, if it's your IBJJF, you know, a competitor, my toes have to be pointing out. And I cannot start to bring my leg over the top. That's a reach. You get DQ'd. Not a warning, or automatic DQ, right? If my toes, I don't know how people do that, but if your toes are pointing in, automatic, right? Your toes have to be pointing out, and your heel cannot slide down and across the center line, okay? I can be as close to the center, and I can be good. Once it passes over, if the person on top is kind of being a douche, which a lot of people do, they're gonna start to turn their knee, and then now you get disqualified, right? Because they want an easy win. So I've actually seen someone push the foot over. But so you're here. When I go, I'm bringing my hips up, and what's gonna help me is this heel clamping on her hip. It kind of gives me like a shelf here, right? Where now I'm not using my abs, I'm using my legs, right? And the other thing I'm doing, again, I saw some people going here, which, you know, isn't terrible, but if I try to do the standard twist sweep to her, she's gonna be able to step this leg back, and how many times has that happened to you guys, right? Probably quite often. So when I get here, I'm behind the other leg. So now I go to step your leg back, she can't step as far. And now when I go through my sequences, I can hit everything from there. All right, so another entry into leg lasso, right? You can come right here. Maybe we're from like an open guard situation, okay? She starts to step in and try to knee cut. I see a lot of people just hugging here, and now you're getting smashed a little bit, right? So what happens, as she comes in, I'm using my forearm, go ahead, to kind of block, and I scoot away, get to my hip. Now I insert my shin. I'm not trying to get it super tight right away, I'm just putting it in front, okay? Now I'm gonna scoot in, and I hug. Make sense so far? From here, I'm gonna fall to my shoulder. I don't fall back. If I fall back, she's gonna bring her heel to her butt, and now she's back in that same position. So when I have my shin to shin, I fall to my side. Go to bring your heel to your butt, it doesn't matter, okay? Now I release the pressure so I can kick up, her foot drops in that same position that we were just in. Now I slide my elbow to the mat, hips come up, and we're right back where we started, okay? So again, we're in like an open guard situation, right? She's supposed to step in, I back up. Look how I'm cupping, right? Making a little frame here. Now my foot transfers. I don't try to scoot in yet, right? My foot transfers. If she tries to walk around, that's fine, I'm gonna hug and scoot in. Now I can fall to my shoulder. When I fall to my shoulder, I can block the shin. That's fine if you want to. You don't really have to, right? As long as I'm not falling straight back. So I go to my shoulder. Then I keep this tight. Now I can release the pressure as I kick straight up. We're right back in that same position. Hips come up. And don't forget to wrap behind the opposite thigh. Make sense? All right, 1, 2. The person's ability to escape by staying tight, right? Part of staying tight is having good leverage or good ability to control someone. So if I'm using a weak joint against a major joint, my chances of keeping the connection is going to be very low, right? So we always want to go major joint to major joint, right? So if I'm going like my wrist against her knee, that doesn't really match up well, right? My wrist against her ankle, that's kind of the same joint, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So when I go elbow to elbow, that's kind of the same joint. That's how this limb bends. That's how this limb bends. So that's where I want to be when I go for this. Make sense? All right. A lot of stuff I'm going to go over is conceptual. Okay. If you have questions, there's an open mat right after. So if you have like more intricate questions, you can ask that as well. But if the positioning is not correct, then the follow-up is going to be very, very sloppy. All right. So you go this way. Okay. When I'm here, again, this foot, it doesn't really matter wherever you feel comfortable. I tuck it behind. You can leave it out if you want. All right. I feel it's easier to fall to my shoulder if I have it behind. All right. Because there's nothing like blocking me. My foot can just really just slide and I can drop. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. I saw someone ask me like where to go. It doesn't matter. Totally up to you. All right. The thing that does matter is elbow to knee. Right? Major joint to major joint. The second thing that matters is I have to fall to my shoulder. Right? I could block the leg if I want. You don't have to. That's preference. Make sense? So I go to my shoulder. Now I can kick up, and then I come to my position. Again, toes pointing out, knee connects to my heel, and my other foot flares out. I'm not on my hip here. My hip already starts to sag. I'm flat. I'm kind of, if my hips were down, I'd be flat on my back when I'm here. Does that make sense? All right, a few more times. 1, 2. The next concept I'm going to go over is, some of you have seen it. You were at my last workshop in Connecticut that I taught at Brad's place, actually. It's very, very, very basic, but it kind of explains every type of sweep in jiu-jitsu. Okay? So I won't go into it too much today because I'm going to cover it in my class tomorrow, but it does apply to this situation, right? So just go staggered for me, okay? So when she's staggered, I don't want to reach for the back leg, right? I'm trying to cover a lot of distance there. And when I'm reaching, that's when I'm susceptible to submissions, right? Darce, armbar, whatever, Bravo, whatever you want to call it, right? So all her weight's here. The problem is I want to get the weight off of this leg. I want to attack this leg. But if her weight's on it, it makes it hard. Does that make sense, right? So a pretty basic description of what base is for jiu-jitsu, I just like to say is your connection to the ground. So if her connection to the ground is very strong, I want to lessen it so I can move what I want to move. Does that make sense? Okay? So if I try to kick up right away to get under the leg, there's no way that's going to happen, right? Unless I'm like really, really strong, all right? I don't consider myself a strong person. So we're here. To get the weight off of this leg, I need to redirect the weight to this leg. That's why I fall to my shoulder. If I fall back, the weight's set on that leg. Okay, then she decides what she wants to do with it. But when I'm here, I keep everything tight, and I go this way, so now the weight starts to transfer. You see how the weight shifted? Now this leg is super light. I can lift it up whenever I want. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not trying to lift it up until the weight shifts, right? So I'm here. I feel that weight shift. Now I can start to rock and get to my position. Okay. That way, I saw some people struggling with getting there. Right, so that's kind of could help you a little bit, and that's with like most sweeps, and you'll see it tomorrow when I teach the rest of the stuff. But that's the concept, right? To get more leverage, take away the base, right? I take away the base by transferring it to the other side. Now it becomes very simple. All right. Any questions on that? What we did so far? Okay, so let's move on. The reason we did that first drill, this is the last thing we'll do, and then we'll get into the actual transitions, where she's standing over you for mount, is because I'm going to do that same kind of concept when I'm mounted to get into the leg lasso position. Knees down. Okay, so she has mount, right? I want to maybe try to elbow escape, but she's doing a good job of keeping her hands down and her knees tight. So I can't even get my elbow inside to start my elbow escape. So I can put my fist. I have very bad wrist, so I put my fist. If you want to cup here, you can cup there. That's totally up to you. But I put my fist. It also kind of hurts them a little bit. So, hey, it's an advantage. So I'm going to bridge. As I bridge, what happens is the weight comes off again of her legs. So I can start to move through the leg. So I bridge up, extend, and now I have that space. So that little hip got her knee to come out of the way. Now I can move my head out the way, and we're right back to our same position. Okay? So again, I put my fist here to lock her hips over my hip. Does that make sense? Now I twist a little bit to bridge to the side so I can hip escape. It's just a regular shrimp. That's all you're doing. But I lock her here. Go to bring your hips back into me. Go ahead. Keep going. Right? I'm locking. I'm not using a lot of strength. I'm reinforcing it with frames. So I'm not doing this. I'm like trying to push her off. Right? Someone your same size or bigger, it's not going to work. I'm using my hips to create less friction. Right? So my hips come up. Now her legs become lighter. Right? My hips come up. Legs are lighter. I can move out to the side. My knee comes in. Foot comes out, and I rotate. So turn this way. Right here. Here. So it's a bump, hip escape. Clamp. Then I can move my head towards her foot. Again, even though she's far away, her knee's turning down, this is not a reap because my foot is in the correct position. You're good to go. As long as I don't do this, which we'll get into that. That's fine if you're not doing IBJJF, but if you are, you can't do that. Make sense? All right, 1, 2. Actually, I'm going to show and then we'll go over some transitions from there. But, so for that, you could go down and do it. So for that mount escape, right? Again, this wouldn't be like my go-to. I would try the basic ones first. I would try my upa, I would try my elbow escape. But this is when the person's shutting those down, right? They have good pressure with their knees, their hands are low and spread out, so I can't upa. If she reaches up to upa, I could go to S mount, right? Start to attack. If she's not able to get her elbow in because my knees are tight, that's when I would go to this escape. If they're keeping their hips low, you can go to your elbow escape. You can go to this one if you want, that's fine, right? But this is when the person's here. So they're actually helping you by locking their hips on your hips for this escape, right? So she's gonna punch my hips, or she can cup with the hands, right? I like to create a little bit of pressure, right? Pain compliance, okay? Nice. Right, shout out to Rob and Jay. So here, right, fist. So I don't actually want to drive my hips forward anymore once she gets to the position. So the way this works, right, she's not trying to launch me off of her. She's gonna do a standard bump, right? When she bumps, she's gonna hip escape. That's all she's doing. Then she guides me when I'm light, and then she can get to the position, okay? So she's not trying to bench press my weight off of her, okay? She's gonna make her position here. I'll bring my body up so you can see what's happening, okay? She's going to bridge to transfer my weight away from her. Now she can hip escape. Then she guides me with the arms because my body becomes lighter at that point, okay? It's like when you're lifting weights, someone who's spotting you, it's easier to lift it in the beginning because they're spotting you, they're helping you. So her arms are helping and the bridge is helping, everything's working together. Does that make sense? Okay. We'll spend like maybe 2 more minutes on this one, and then we'll get into the rest of the stuff. All right? 1, 2. So the way, to kind of further explain the way this escape works, just lay down. So why do we bump or bridge when we're on bottom side control? Create space, right? Put the weight on the hands. Okay? I like these answers, right? Move the hips, so you can move your hips, and you can create angles, right? So if I'm on top, right, what I like to do with this elbow, right, is keep my elbow glued to the mat and glued to her hip, okay? So now just go to hip escape. She can't because my elbow's on the mat. So when she bridges, my elbow comes off the mat, now she can free her hip. Same exact thing with this escape, right? So we're here, I'm staying low, I'm staying tight, maybe I'm trying to Ezekiel or whatever, she's going to bridge, now she can move because you saw how my knee popped off the mat, okay? Make sense? All right, there's an open mat after, so you can drill that a little bit then if you want. But you notice there's a common theme with all these entries. They're all from bottom. I don't like to enter into a leg position from top. Because in a tournament, if they defend it well and they come on top, that's 2 points. Now I'm fighting from behind. right? So I only enter those positions from bottom. If you want to do it from top, then that's totally up to you. That's fine. But, so let's just get to our leg lasso position, or single leg X, ashigarami, whatever you guys want to call it. Okay? So, we're here. Again, I'm hooking here, and I put my toes pointing out, heels tight to her hip. I create that shelf, okay? So, the basic twist sweep, all I'm doing is bridging my hips up, twisting, and then I can start to attack, okay? We won't cover that too much. It's pretty much very basic. You've seen it before. So what happens is everyone thinks that they want to touch this foot and peel it to start to get out of this position, right? She's doing it the correct way. But so when they grab your foot, what they want to do is push it over your shoulder, and now all the follow-up don't work, okay? So it's essential that I'm just going to assume that she knows the right thing to do, okay? So whenever I see her reaching for my foot, I bring it off before she can grab it. My other foot goes to her tailbone. Notice how this hand is blocking the shin, right? As low on the ankle as possible. Now I'm going to use that to kick her forward, okay? Now, the basic one, she just to come back, I'm going to bring my hips up, and I use that momentum to sweep her right back down. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to give you two, right? So that's the basic one. So one more time here. She goes. I don't let her control it. I can go to the far hip, or this is kind of where I'm trying to angle my foot, right? Like anywhere along this butt cheek. Then I'm going to kick. When she comes back, that's when I hit my sweep. I'm just using her momentum, right? I don't use a lot of power, not a lot of strength. She's helping me do it by regaining her base. Make sense? So the second one we're going to do, right, which is also very basic, is she goes here, I don't let her touch it. I kick her forward, okay? I'm going to hip escape because this foot's light. I swim my elbow back and I come up on my hand. Go to come back into me, I can keep moving away as much as I want. Technical stand and come up, okay? And you can finish a single leg however you want, right? That's the finish. So, one more time. We're in our position, right? She goes to touch, kick her off. I turn on my side. I swim my elbow back to start to build my base. She's going to be trying to get her foot flat, but I just keep moving away. Now I'm up on my hand. Get your foot flat. Technical stand. Now I'm up. Finish it however you like. Okay? Make sense? Let's do those two. 1, 2. So, again, what I'm doing, when I'm here, I don't want her touching my foot, right? If she knows the proper way to escape this position, I'm screwed. So right when she goes to touch it, I take it off. This foot has to go on the mat. I don't let it float. If I let it float, I have no power to kick her forward, right? So it's my shin and foot connecting to her butt cheek. This foot's on the mat. I'm blocking here. If I don't block here, she can step back. And now she has good base, right? So I block it. Now what's making this work is my hip coming up as I extend my foot this way. So it's not this to kick her forward, right? I keep connected, and I'm bridging here. I can get a lot of power there, right? Does that make sense? Yes. Right? So even if I'm here, it's just this. And look, I'm kicking her off to the side too, not straight over my head. I've seen people do that in tournaments and they get mounted, right? So I go here, if I kick her straight, she's just gonna drop down, and now we're in this position, which isn't terrible, bringing your knee down, right? Because then we just go back to our entry. I keep the ankle, bump, and I come back, right? And if she doesn't stand up, I just swim and come for my, all right? So, foot on the mat, and your shin and hips are doing everything to get to that position. 1, 2. Next. Now it gets a little bit more intricate. So, try to follow along. It's not too bad, right? So we're in our ashi, let's call that this time, okay? So we're here. And when the person goes to touch, same type of thing. I come out. This time I'm gonna drop behind the knee. Maybe I tried the other one so many times, the person, defended it well, or just preference, I would like to do this one now, right? So when I get here, since I'm in this position, I like to bring the foot to the same side hip, okay? Because now if she tries to pressure down on me, I can use that to elevate, right? But it's preference. If you want to bring it to the far hip, you can do that as well, right? But once I'm here, okay, and what she's going to try and do is try to clear this foot. If she tries to clear this one, then she's helping me do the basic sweep where I take it backwards, right? So as she's pressuring down on that, I'm going to control the opposite leg. I'm going to shoot both through and chop her down, and then I get the double outside. Okay? Make sense?
Yeah.
So, again, we're here. Turn this way a little bit. Right? She goes to touch. I don't like that. I come to my single leg X because now I have an X. Okay. So she tries to clear that. I shoot both through. What's happening is I'm chopping this down, and my leg actually stays behind the knee. That's where this is going to work. If I stay here, she's going to have good base. I lock this in place, and now I can push her over that to get my sweep. Okay? I can keep control of both legs. She's not going anywhere. And I have my position here. Then I can do any attack that I want to do after that. Okay. Again, we're just focusing on the positioning. I'm sure you guys have seen footlock before. Maybe at the end I'll show 2 ways I like to finish it if we have time. But we're here. She goes. I can also do it when I kick her forward. Then she comes back. I can go to my position. Same thing. She goes to touch. I don't like it. Kick through. Look how this knee comes towards me. This one goes forward. And I can come to my position. Wrap it with wrist to ankle. Bone to bone. Always bone to bone. Not meat to bone. Meat to bone, there's no pain involved. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So for footlocks, I always like my partner to feel pain in their ankle before the submission actually happens. So they know that they're in a crappy position. Right? Because if it's meat to bone, I can still finish it, but then she doesn't feel it until something's about to pop. Does that make sense? So when I'm here, she knows she's already in danger. So now it's very simple for me to say. And they tap a lot quicker, which I like. So one last time, okay? We're here, however you get here. All right, I see a lot of people drilling the ways to enter. Perfect. She goes, I don't like that. I can kick her forward, come, as she comes back, kick through. Remember, this is gonna come towards me to keep her knee isolated. Then I can push it over and come to my position. And then bone to bone. Yep.
The leg that's going forward, are you clamping down on the hip?
I'm shooting right into the middle of her thigh. Right? Come back up. Because if I go to her hip, I don't have the leverage of pushing her over. Right? Turn this way. So we're here. Okay, I shoot through. If I keep this really high, there's no pressure. I want the pressure very zoned, right? I want to keep it tight. So the pressure's here.
Around the knee.
Yeah. But that's what's going to make her fold over. Make sense? All right, let's try it. 1, 2. If you end up to where your partner's leg is far away, right? I have hooks. I can lift and pull her in, right? Does that make sense? So I can use my body. I'm moving her around anyways. I should never let her be stable. If she's stable in this position, she's going to pass my guard. So I'm always moving her around. Now I get the ankle. Then I can shoot through and get to my position. Make sense? Whenever they're stable on top, they're going to pass your guard. Or they're going to threaten to pass your guard. Okay? Now when I get to this position, okay, I'm not worried about her attacking my foot. Right? I have 2 against 1 on this side. Okay? She doesn't have my knee controlled. She doesn't have leverage. Go and attack my foot however you want. I don't really care. Go ahead. I'm going to be able to finish a lot quicker than she's going to be able to. Right? So I don't care what she does over there. Make sense? That's why I also keep control of this leg until I'm ready to go. Because if she could bring this over, now she can start to,
entangle your leg.
because now that's my knee trap. Right? So that's why we keep both ankles to start. Does that make sense? Okay. Back up. So now we get here. She's going to go to touch. I don't want her to touch. I kick her forward. And now I'm going to go to like a reverse X. So this foot is going to go on bottom, and I hook. Right? And I'm keeping this pressure with the top foot the whole time. This hand can block just to keep her away for a little bit. She's going to try to come back in, which is great for me. Now I can lift. I let it slide down the pole, and I figure 4 my legs. And I get to whatever you want to call it. Okay? 411, whatever else all the guys are calling it. Right? But we're here. She goes to touch. I don't like that. I kick her forward. I come inside. I'm not going low here. If I get low, I'm not going to be able to trap her knee. I go right by the knee. Now I block. I'm not in a rush, right? She tries to come back in. That's going to help me elevate. And I let her leg slide down as I catch it. My knee has to stay outside. I don't shoot my leg through. I only have the option for the knee bar then. Then I can come here and attack my knee bar, which is fine too, right? But I like to entangle them first and then pick my leg lock. So here she goes, kick, come through. So traditional is the one that's behind her, that foot's on top, right? So I'm going opposite and making my X. So I still have control over her hip. I'm still could push her away. I still have good control. I can still do the basic technical stance sweep and everything else. But she's doing a good job of keeping the weight into me. So now I lift. I keep everything tight so she's not moving her leg around too much. Going to move your leg around. I'm keeping pressure here. Again, same position we did for our double outside. So that's tight. Then I let it slide down and I catch it, right, on my bicep. Then I figure four and I get to the same side than I was before, right? My feet are protected. Do I attack my foot? Right? There's no way. Okay? And I have plenty of options for here. Now, this position is legal in IBJJF. You cannot attack this foot lock off of it. It becomes illegal. I can attack straight ankles, right? If I get rid of that foot, I can attack the knee bar. But it's a stupid rule because it's not a read. But they say, the reason they gave me, right, when I argued with the ref, because I like to argue with refs, Andre, the head ref, I go, look, you know it's not a read. Why did he get DQ'd? And this is a black belt match, by the way, the guy that DQ'd. He goes, the reason that the other ref gave me was because he couldn't get his leg free to escape. That's the whole point of jiu-jitsu. But I'm just letting you know now, so if you decide to do this in IBJJF and leg locks are legal in your division, do not attack the knee bar for this. You will get disqualified. You can attack the straight ankle, that's fine. Or let them get the leg out and attack the knee bar. Okay?
You can't attack the top leg?
So they have a chance to escape.
You can't attack the top leg.
I could attack a straight ankle. So the question was, can I attack this top leg? Yes, I can, if I attack a straight ankle. Either this way or the reverse grip, which we're gonna, if we have time, I don't know if we do. But you can ask me open mat, right? But you cannot keep the leg lace and attack. Dumb rule, I know. But that's the rule. I can't change it. One last time. So again, if this one's a little bit too complicated, give it a try. If not, try to drill the other ones. So 1, 2, I kick her forward, insert reverse X, okay? Here, kick up, everything's tight, and then I let it slide down. So I keep it tight, then I release the pressure. Then I triangle, and I'm using my knee and my shin to get her hip to the ground. Does that make sense? And now I have my position, right? Again, open mat, if you want to ask me how different leg locks from here, that's totally fine. But that's the position. All right? 1, 2. Drilling is everything. But, so, we get here. So people are having a little bit of difficulty, or a lot of difficulty with the last one. So we're here, she goes to touch, I don't want her to touch, I push her to the side, and then I go to reverse X, right, or negative X. Then I block here. I just made that up. New position, negative X, right? And I block here. The reason I block here, why do I block here? I don't let it square out, right? If she squares out, I don't have any leverage anymore, right? Because now her weight's on this leg again. You go back to the beginning. If I want to move something, I have to take the weight off of it. I want to move this leg, and I want to keep control of this one. So if her base is on her feet, I can't do that. So that's why I keep her this way, and I turn her on my side a little bit. Now where's her weight? In her hands. Okay? Now I can lift this easily. If her weight's in her feet, I can't lift that, right? So I keep her this way, now I can lift, and then I can get to my position, right? And then I stay on the side where my knee is squared out, because I don't want her to be able to reach and grab my head. So to grab my head, I can keep her away, right? And she's also very short. But does that make sense? So one more time. Again, we're here, she wants to touch, I don't want her to touch. Kick her, get on my side, just a little bit. Right? If I want to do the other escape, then I turn all the way on my side, get my hip out. Right? Maybe I start to do this when she starts to get her foot back in. Then I can come to my position. Notice how everything's centered around her knee. If I go below the knee, it makes it easier to lift her ankle, but I won't get to the position, right? I'll end up in like a calf slice position, which is fine too, okay? So if I end up here, boom, then I can start to attack that, right? But to get to the 411 or whatever else, honey hole, whatever the guys are calling it, right? I lift, and now everything stays tight around the knee. Then I can triangle, then I can flare and get her down. Make sense? Now, if you're not competing in IJJF, right, I can go here and finish, right? I like to step on my own foot because it makes everything tighter, and I can finish without even pulling the leg, okay? Because what happens, I slide my thigh up her leg, and it gets everything in that position tight, right? And now I just pinch my knee.
Where is she feeling the pressure there?
Her knee. Sometimes it's the hip, if they have bad hips. Sometimes it's the knee. Sometimes it's the hamstring. A tap is a tap. Yeah, sometimes it's the calf, like the calf flexor. As long as they're tapping, that's all that matters, right? But if my position is not tight, she's not going to tap to anything. If I'm like loose here, with my triangle, and I'm doing this, there's no way, right? So even if I'm going to finish with the triangle, look how I'm pinching and bringing everything tight together. Now I go here, and then I can finish, or finish. Right? Make sense? But this is my favorite. I don't have to do anything with my arms, and I can finish. I can smile for the camera.
Is that toe hold legal though from that position in IBJJF?
Nope, because the leg's trapped. Again, not my rule. Even the toe hold. Again, not my rule. I try to follow the rules when I'm competing. But any questions on that? No? All right. You want to take a picture? All right, we'll take a group picture.